we meet upon today, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, their elders past, present and emerging. To all of our friends here today, to my wonderful wife Sarah and my family who are with us today, to every West Australian watching at home, and can I especially acknowledge a West Australian icon, Fiona. It's a great pleasure to be here to launch WA Labor's state election campaign. This is the most important state election in living memory. During a once-in-a-century pandemic and global economic uncertainty, who do you trust to guide WA through unprecedented times? The answer is clear. WA needs this experienced government. A government that makes WA jobs and health its #1 priority. A government dedicated to fairness, opportunity and creating prosperity across this great state. That's never afraid to stand up to Canberra. A government that will keep WA strong. Western Australia needs this WA Labor government. Like so many other Australians, I joined the Labor Party because of the values of my parents, Mary and Dennis, the values they instilled in me. Dad was a wool classer in regional Australia. Mum was a primary school teacher. When I was growing up, Dad ran small businesses. So I learnt firsthand what it takes to run a business, the pressures, the stresses, the responsibilities and hard work that comes along with raising a family. Dad, through and through, was a Labor supporter. He taught me that everyone deserved a fair go in life. It mattered how the Indigenous kids in town were treated. It mattered how my friends' dads who worked at the meatworks were employed and the kinds of incomes they took home. Dad taught me how important it was that the leaders in charge stood up for those who could not. I grew up with Bob Hawke as Prime Minister. If you told me in high school I'd get to share a beer with him one day or share a cup of tea on his couch months before he died, or even name a high school after him, I'd never have believed you. When Bob was Prime Minister, it was Labor in government, making decisions, making Australia a better place for everyone, bringing the nation together, taking it forward. He set the standard that I try to follow. Labor governments for well over 100 years have driven Australia forward. And in our darkest, most challenging times, a Labor government kept us safe. During World War II, our Western Australian wartime Prime Minister, John Curtin, steered Australia through its most terrifying challenge. During that crisis, John Curtin said, "The nation looked to Labor, and it did not look in vain." We lead a great life here in WA, but every so often, the times we live in will ask more of us. This last year has brought some of the most difficult challenges we have ever faced. The start of 2021 has thrown everything at Western Australians: fires, floods, global turmoil. And as a state, we responded in the only way we know how. We stuck together. We supported each other. We rose to the challenge as only Western Australians can. I've always believed that we are the greatest state in the best country in the world. This great state has given me everything: opportunity, a career, a place to call home, an amazing wife, and the best kids a dad could ask for. A wonderful life. I just want to give something back. Our collective challenge required a collective response. It takes everyone pulling in the same direction for the common good, making sacrifices, pitching in, cooperating to help those they've never met, their fellow West Australians. The party that understands that is WA Labor. We are the party of volunteers, of essential workers, people on the front lines, like our Riverton candidate, Dr Jags, who stopped campaigning the other week to roll up his sleeves and pitch in at a COVID testing clinic. Like our Dawesville candidate, Lisa Munday, an experienced paramedic of 20 years serving her community. Or like our Scarborough candidate, Stuart Aubrey, a proud surf lifesaver, keeping people safe on our beaches. We want them on our team. Leading the state during a crisis is the single most important responsibility of being Premier of Western Australia. The lives and hopes of so many West Australians depend on you. As Premier of WA, you need to have the experience. You need to have the resilience. You have to have the capacity to do the job. You can never give in to pressure from Canberra. You have to stand up for Western Australians, their health and their jobs. You always have to keep going, no matter how hard it gets. That's how we won the GST fix for WA, that no other government managed to secure. That's how we secured billions of dollars for Metronet and regional roads from the Commonwealth. That's why we defended our state borders, took Clive Palmer and the Liberal Party all the way to the High Court and defeated them. Defeated them comprehensively. That's why we legislated against Clive Palmer, trying to take this state for $30 billion. My WA Labor government will always have your back. We're never afraid to fight for you. I've led a strong, experienced, unified team, the most stable government in 50 years. Experienced, passionate ministers with a deep knowledge of their portfolios. Together, we got the state back on track. We promised to create 50,000 new WA jobs, and despite the pandemic, we created over 63,000 new jobs. We promised to build Metronet, and 9 separate projects are currently under construction, including locally built trains. We turned the finances around, turning record Liberal deficits and skyrocketing Liberal debt into surpluses through responsible financial management. We promised to put patients first, and we are reforming and expanding our health system right around the state, with the best performing emergency departments in the nation. And now we're building the new Women's and Babies Hospital for West Australia. We promised to freeze TAFE fees. We froze them, then slashed them. And now we're freezing them for another 4 years. We promised to give every student the best start in life, and we've put well over 300 education assistants back into classrooms, invested hundreds of millions in improvements and works, and built the new schools our growing suburbs and towns need. And now we're investing another $585 million in school infrastructure and programs. We're leaving a cleaner, better environment for our children. with our plastic bag ban, the new container deposit scheme, banning e-waste and delivering the single biggest expansion to our national parks in West Australian history. And now we're going to start manufacturing renewable energy technology right here in WA, creating new green jobs. And we passed our voluntary assisted dying laws, giving Western Australians suffering at the end of their life dignity and relief in their final days. We promised a fresh approach, we delivered it, and now we're going even further. I am proud to stand here 4 years later and look every Western Australian in the eye and say to them, we've done what we said we'd do. We've repaid the faith and trust that was placed in us in 2017. We went to the last election with a plan for jobs, a pledge to put WA jobs first, and we delivered it. But the need for new quality WA jobs never ends, especially as we recover from the pandemic. WA's prosperity is based on opportunity and the security of a good quality job. I want every Western Australian to have the confidence that they can and will find a fulfilling career here in this state. That's what my wife and I want for our children. I know parents all over WA feel the same. So as we stand here in 2021, having seized the opportunities of 2017, it's time for a new plan for jobs. Today, we are proud to unveil our new WA Jobs Plan. A plan that's crucial for the future prosperity of Western Australia. We will build off the 63,000 WA jobs we created already, and we will create 125,000 more. That's right, a real plan to create 125,000 local jobs for Western Australians on top of the 63,000 already created. It's a credible, believable, deliverable plan. A plan based around creating new industries, training, tourism, a new film industry. Agriculture and aquaculture, constructing Metronet and manufacturing the rail cars right here. Regional jobs and Aboriginal employment, maximising resources jobs and reducing interstate FIFO. We will establish the WA Jobs Task Force, chaired by me. It will oversee the delivery of the WA Jobs Plan. The task force will bring together employers, unions and government to identify local job creation opportunities in both new and existing industries. It will work with local industries and businesses to identify job creation opportunities in regional communities throughout WA. And it will map the skills gaps that fuel the use of an interstate FIFO workforce to ensure we train the workforce right here in WA instead. We have used our relationship with the resources sector and the practical realities of the pandemic to drive down the use of interstate FIFO across this crisis. And we want to do more to unwind the legacy of the last boom. East Coast FIFO should be the rare exception, not a common practice. Our WA Jobs Plan is an incredibly detailed and comprehensive plan, nearly 80 pages long. But importantly, it is responsible, affordable and achievable. Some initiatives we've already announced, like manufacturing renewable energy technology and creating a new film industry here in WA, right here in Fremantle. Some we'll talk about in the days to come. But today, I want to highlight two more. Friends, as you know, more than 26 years ago, it was the Liberal Party that shut down the Midland Railway workshops and gutted our local manufacturing industry. But it is our WA Labor government that brought railcar manufacturing back to WA where it belongs. Today I want to tell you about our next step in manufacturing. The state has a fleet of 32,000 iron ore wagons that gets our iron ore to port on rail. It's estimated those ore wagons require around 300,000 replacement components each year for the next 25 to 30 years. I want Western Australia to be manufacturing those components. So today, I'm pleased to announce a re-elected Labor government will work with the resources sector and our local manufacturing industry to create an ongoing pipeline of manufacturing work of those critical iron ore rail wagon components. And to help make it a reality, we will establish a $15 million local manufacturing investment fund to help WA manufacturers retool their workshops with world-class technology so they can fabricate those components right here.